Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Kwok No with Philadelphia Triathlon Club. And today we have our man, Reggie Waller, doing a little bit of a spotlight for the members. So, for those not familiar, Reggie is a longtime PTC member who is also a USA Triathlon Level 2 coach, an RRCA endurance running coach. He is also the director of Team Varlo and also a coach at Wolfpack Multisport. In addition to that, he is on the board of directors of the Bicycle Coalition of Greater Philadelphia. And in his spare time, among all those things, is heavily involved with the community with the youth coaching programs as well. So I want to bring Reggie on and give him a warm welcome. What's going on, Reggie?
Thanks, Quack. Thanks for having me. Definitely excited to talk with the PTC members here today.
Awesome. So, just to give everyone a little bit more context of where you're from and such, can you let us know, where you grew up originally, what neighborhood you live in now, and what your current occupation is?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a military brat. My dad was in the Marine Corps. So, I was born in Beaufort, South Carolina. Only stayed there for about 3 years. And, I like sharing this part of my life with folks because, I from there went to Northern Africa in Tunis, Tunisia, and I lived there for about 2 years, 6 years in Oceanside after that, and then moved to Maryland for 3 years. And then we came back to Pennsylvania. My parents are originally from Pennsylvania, Philadelphia area. So I came back to Pennsylvania in 91 and have been here ever since. So right now I live in the Phoenixville area. So I've been here in this part of the area for about 3 years. So definitely close to the Schuylkill River Trail. I think at some point you can probably call me the mayor of the Schuylkill River Trail, depending on what portion it is. And my occupation is a risk management professional in the financial services industry, where I've been for the past 23 years.
Great, thanks, Reggie. And you know what? You're not kidding when people say that you're the mayor of the Schuylkill River Trail, because one of the things I always see posted are the Reggie sightings along the trail from the members of the Philly Tri Club. So you are definitely a frequent member of the trail. And speaking of, so with PTC, can you tell us how you got into Philadelphia Triathlon Club? Found out about the club, and what led you into triathlon prior to that?
Yeah, at work, one of my buddies back in around the 2011 timeframe, he was doing CrossFit, and I was just running, and he was like, "Hey, let's do a triathlon." So I signed up, and he never did. And the first try that I did was the Upper Mainline Y try, which was phenomenal. You swim in the pool. You're riding around the neighborhood of the Wayne Berwyn area, and then you do the run. And I had gotten bit by the bug and started to then move out to some of the tries that were on the Schuylkill River with the bigger Philly try. And, at that point, I started to branch out. I got into the Olympic distance, and, that I bit off a little bit more than I can chew. And, I started to share with people more of, hey, I was able to do a sprint try and decided, hey, you know what, I'm going to go for this Olympic. How hard can it be? I can, I'm a good biker, I'm a good runner. I just have to get out of the water. And when I looked down the river, I remember looking, I'm like, wow, that's a far distance. And my age group, we were like number 11 out of 13 waves. So I was sitting there watching everybody just, go off on their swim, go off on their swim. And then when I sat on the deck, I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, here I am. And then like 50 meters into the race, I kind of threw my hand up, kayak came over, lifeguard came over. Hey, everything okay? I was like, yeah, I'm done. And got on the boat of shame. And I remember going back to land, and, at that point, I was just like, hey, I got all my stuff. They let me out of transition, and I was like, that's it for me. That's it for triathlon. I'm done. And I think for me at that point, it was a pivotal point for me in my career of triathlon, because I had been doing it for about a couple years, and you know that moment was a wake up call for me to kind of fall back in love with the sport.
Hmm. So that's always tough to to go through a race and not finish. And in the heat of the moment, I think everyone has that same type of frustration, that same type of doubt. What what helped you overcome that first mental barrier to keep on going and then ultimately build toward finishing Ironman Lake Placid, which you did with me and a bunch of other folks from the Philly Tri Club?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like that mental block was, or how did I get over that mental hurdle was really, joining PTC. So at that point, I remember, sitting there waiting that day when I had that DNF, and I was out there doing these tries on my own. So I wasn't part of a triathlon club. So, for me, it was like, okay, kind of, talking with my wife, like, hey, I'm done. And she was like, no, let's, look at what's out there. And I started looking through social media and found PTC, talked with Chris Camburn at the time, who was the president, and then eventually met Suki at one of the races. And then I joined PTC. And that, having that camaraderie, that group to have that support was very helpful, because it was no longer me showing up at a race by myself. There was always somebody that I knew was going to be there, that I would see on the course or see in transition. And that was like a huge leap for me. I talked about that pivot for me in my triathlon career. That was a pivotal moment, because then that gave me that accountability, that support system, from going to a DNF to then a few years later, going to do my first half Ironman, and then completing a full Ironman a month later at Lake Placid. So, I think the big thing for me was having that support, getting a coach for the swim. So Joanna C. After that DNF, I had hired her for some one-on-one instruction. And then I remember, we were, I think you and I were actually, sharing text through group chat. Like, I share with you like, hey, well, yeah, I don't think I can do plastic because, I still stink at the swim. And you were like, no, no, go for it. Let's do it. And, I think that those words of encouragement, that you and I exchanged were definitely helpful. And, again, just knowing that, hey, there's others here where I could reach out to and ask for information was definitely helpful. And that helped me, progress further into the sport, into long course racing.
Right. And you know what? I still remember that Lake Placid Ironman, and it's one of those things that you hit on where you're doing a race like triathlon, where you kind of finish by yourself and kind of walk away. But that day, one of the things that I'll never forget with the Ironman is seeing 20 other Philadelphia Triathlon Club folks out on the course, where it seemed like every 10, 15 minutes, you were seeing someone else from the club on that course.
Mm,
And that just gives you a huge jolt of energy and accountability too, right? I mean,
right.
we've all been there. You're doing a long race like that. You're kind of tired. You're walking a little bit, but then you see someone in the green kit heading down toward you. So you at least try to jog a little bit
Yep.
to look good in the moment, right? But then that little moment, that little push. Okay, I'm running a little bit now. Let's keep on running. So that piece of accountability really helps it as well. So that's fantastic. How you're tying into what the club means in terms of having other folks around you as a support system,
Mhm.
and having that on a race day, especially a race like Ironman Lake Placid.
Absolutely. Yes. There's something powerful with that green kit. It's like, you see it, and, it's a long day out there, and you might not be able to, after a certain while, you can't shout anymore. You're just kind of, all right, let me get through this. But that quick hand wave or the head nod or something just sparks that energy to just keep going. And it's powerful. It's very powerful. And you're right, we had like about 20 plus members. I think that might have been the largest class that we had out there. And that was one of the things I appreciate, because I remember that day, that what led up to that, that large group was just the banter that was going on within Facebook to say, hey, yeah, so and so, I just signed up. Are you signing up now? And then I said to my wife, as I was watching the conversation, I said, at some point, I feel like they're going to call my name. And I remember when my name was called in the group. And you know what? I'm glad that pressure was applied to me, because, again, that was a life changing experience for me. And, was I, top five? Did I qualify for Kona that day? No. I finished something that I started, and I was able to celebrate with a new family. And it was just an experience that changed my life, because at DNF, like that, I said that day, back in 2013, I could have stopped triathlon at that point, but that was just a pivotal moment for me to go back, continue, and finish something that was obtainable for me.
Right. So you mentioned your wife a few times as a part of your support system too. So let's dig into that a little bit more. So you have a full-time job, you're a dedicated husband, a father, and obviously you're heavily involved with the community. You have the coaching aspect of it. You're also a director of Team Varlo, and you have to carve out time to train yourself, right?
Hmm.
And on the outside, I can say you're doing an incredible job balancing all of that. So for those watching and thinking, gosh, I have to train to run, I have to train to bike, I have to train to swim. How am I going to fit that all in? What tips would you provide to folks watching on how they can help with time management and be able to fit all that stuff in?
Yeah, and I still think I suck at it, and it's not easy, but I
You're your biggest critic, Reggie. The biggest critic. You're doing good, man.
Thanks, thanks. Yeah, I've been doing this since 2008. Now, I would tell people it's, really, carving out what it is that you're looking to focus on, and don't beat yourself up. It's, some days you're not going to get your training in, because life happens. And what I try to do is, plan out, okay, what does my week look like from a swim, bike, run, strength standpoint, knowing that, okay, for me, my day doesn't start training until 8:30 during the week. And then during the weekend, it might start as early as like 6 or 7 a.m., or if not, in the afternoon with family activities or what have you. So it's just creating that balance, and knowing that, okay, there are going to be some days to where I can get my full training in. There are other days where I may do 80%, but where I'm looking for is the quality over the quantity. So there's going to be some trade offs, and using those points of time where you need to rest. So perfect example is we went to New York last week, and my son was off from school a few days, so we went from Friday to Monday. So there were, normally my rest day is on a Friday. I have a long run on a Saturday, or a long ride, excuse me, Saturday, and then long run on Sunday. So what I did was I told my coach, I said, hey, Todd, going to be traveling, so probably won't be able to do the bike, but the run I'm definitely going to do. So I took my running shoes with me to bike. I was supposed to do a 30-mile bike on Saturday, didn't do that, but I did the run, and I was able to break away with the from the family for a little bit. Ran through Central Park, got to see a different part of New York that I haven't seen before, and I got like 6.5 out of 7 miles. So I was like, hey, this is good. I was able to kind of manage. And I always take the running shoes with me. At minimum, you can at least do the run somewhere, explore a new place. So when I used to travel a lot for work, I would just pick up the running shoes, and hey, if I couldn't do the bike or the swim, at least go for a run and see a new place on foot. So, just creating that balance and not taking it so serious.
Right. And I think that's a great point with not taking it so serious. At the end of the day, this is a hobby for all of us. We may have goals, but none of us are being paid to do this, right? We're doing it because we love it. We have a passion for it. And what I've seen is if you get too caught up in trying to hit every workout and it has to be a perfect workout, that passion starts to go away. So I love
Yes.
your perspective of fitting it when we can. It sounds like part of that is you have the priorities, right? So you're on a family trip, you've prioritized being away with your family as number one, and then number two, okay, if I can fit in a workout or two, so be it. And you still got in a run while you were there. So all of that builds into just being able to have consistency, but not stressing over it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And everybody's going to have a different balance that they try to strike on that. And again, we went out to Boulder. I had an opportunity to go out and train with some of our professional triathletes from Team Varlo, and it was just very interesting to see kind of like the whole dynamics. And I'm thinking they wake up early in the morning, like say 4:30. They're done their workouts by 8 o'clock in the morning, and then they have the rest of the day ahead of them. And it was very different. It was, they're training throughout the day, and, it's not like a set time to where they're done. And I was always thinking I was behind the curve. So it was just interesting. And it was an eye opening experience for me to see how somebody else that's actually getting paid and that's winning trains compared to an age grouper. So again, I mean their training load was much more heavier. They might be training anywhere up from 25 plus hours a week, but again, my perception was, oh, okay, they're done by 8 o'clock, and then they have the rest of the day. And it was like, no, they were training swim, bike, run throughout the day. So that gave me a better appreciation and not to be so hard on myself with not being able to get something in, and things not lining up correctly like I wanted them to.
Okay. And then to continue on that theme, so speaking of advice, one of the cool things to see is that there's a conference coming up this week, the Endurance Exchange, being hosted by USAT. And I see like a ton of speakers on there, one of them being yourself, Reggie. Can you give us an overview of what the conference is and perhaps maybe a little preview of the topic that you'll be speaking on?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Endurance Exchange is an annual conference. This is the third year. The first year was in person. Obviously, with the pandemic, the last 2 years have been, or last year and this year were virtual. So I had an opportunity to attend last year and really enjoyed the experience to be able to listen to a deep bench of speakers related to training plans, nutrition, race directors, race officials. And it was, a great time to have a couple of days devoted to these topics, and then hear from Rocky Harris, CEO of USA Triathlon, and Bob Babbitt and other individuals that have been involved with the sport. So the conference is coming up this starting tomorrow through Saturday, and I'll be playing two parts. One, I'll be leading a group ride on Zwift on Friday morning from 8 to 9. So I've programmed a workout for the participants that want to join, and then probably about 3 hours later, I will be having like a fireside chat, and we'll be talking about diversity, equity, inclusivity, and access into sports, and how can triathlon clubs make this a more welcoming sport for those that are looking to get engaged. And I'm really passionate about that topic. In my role as team director for Varlo, I had an opportunity to recruit athletes onto the team. And looking at it, we look at it being a home for all athletes. So we have a couple of individuals that are para athletes, one being from the Philly area, and I've had an opportunity to kind of talk with her a little bit more and understand her aspirations. And one of her first things was, well, do you take para athletes into your club? And the answer is yes. So thinking about inclusivity, access for all, so sometimes we don't think about that. And having those conversations with her has really changed my mindset on how we approach things when we welcome somebody into a club. Is like, hey, you want to be mindful of certain things when you have group events or what have you. Or for instance, maybe somebody has access to get in, but they don't have the maybe proper equipment, or they don't know what to do. And having those conversations with them, making it a welcome club is very important. So this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and I'm looking forward to having the conversation on the fourth.
That's phenomenal. And those conversations, you've really become a mentor on facilitating those types of talks, and understanding how the different clubs and organizations within this community can be more inclusive. And going way back to when we just started in PTC, you and I were kind of beginners. It's really been amazing to see your growth within triathlon, and how you've transitioned from being the mentee to a mentor. Can you tell us a little bit about how that started, where you decided, I want to take this to another level in terms of just both coaching, understanding, and then the mentoring along with the inclusivity piece?
Yeah, I think it's just being surrounded by, people that are, that see something in you that you don't see yourself. So, as, we mentioned, we talked about Placid and saying, hey, let's sign up, you have the support system here. So, being around other fellow triathletes. And I think the pandemic, once the pandemic hit, that was like a turning point for me. I was still training, but then got more into cycling. I was more of a trainer road guy, and then got into Zwift after winning a drawing there from PTC. And I was like, okay, let me see what this Zwift thing is all about. And it was interesting because I would post some stuff on social media on Instagram, and there was this individual who is in Atlantic City, part of Black Men Run. He saw my post, and he kept liking them. And then at one point he reached out and he said, hey, I see you doing this Ironman virtual event. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? I want to do it. And he kept asking questions and asking questions. And we were going back and forth. And I was just like, this feels like a good time. I know a lot. How can I take this to the next level? And that's what got me into looking at USA Triathlon coaching program, and then another individual that did Placid, who is the race director and owner for Wolfpack Multisport. He had gotten his race director certification, and we exchanged messages. And when I saw that, I was like, again, this kind of led me back to USA Triathlon. So that was a turning point for me to say, I'm being asked, hey, how do I go about doing a virtual duathlon? And that individual, Tony, who was in AC, he was actually a captain of is a captain of Black Men Run for the AC chapter. He wound up bringing me into the broader group of other captains around the U.S. And there were about seven of us on a call one night, and I'm leading them through how to use Zwift. Next thing you know, we're setting up Zwift group rides. And, from there, we were just, kind of pushing one another. So they were looking at me as kind of like the mentor, the coach. And I just continued to fall in love with it. And that's what kind of pushed me to further pursue getting that level one certification. And I would say also, even, having my coach Todd Wiley as well. He coached me through my first half, and then got me through Placid. And it was just him and his experience, and we built that relationship. And I still use Todd to this day. That was my first experience using a coach in the tri space, and having that experience kind of helped me make that transition over to coaching. Because as I was thinking about it, he was the first person I reached out to say, "Hey, I'm thinking about it. Can I get your thoughts about, how it is to be a coach?" So it was, a nice transition, and I truly appreciate that relationship that we were able to build, and I really enjoy the coaching aspect in Try.
Right. So, I mean, it sounds like a lot of it was just relationship building, being introduced to relationships, furthering those relationships. Um, and then when we think of relationships, I think that's one of the key things that a lot of folks can get from being in a club like PTC. So what advice would you give to someone that is just joining PTC, looking to navigate the club and to maximize their experience? What advice would you give them to get as much out of it as they can being a member of PTC?
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing that comes to mind is, get, be participate, be active on the Facebook group, participate. So throw questions out there. There's no stupid question. I'm sure somebody's asked that question before, and go ahead and throw that question out, and that allows you to build and start. We talked about relationships earlier on, like that individual that from AC that reached out to me. Start the conversations. Ask somebody, "Hey, I'm going for a group run, Kelly, or going for a run from Kelly Hall, running 5 miles or running the loop. Anybody interested in joining?" I remember I did that one time with Lindsay, and it was just her and I. And, we got an opportunity to know one another a little bit more. And, I think sometimes we're a little bit apprehensive. Well, I don't run that pace, so I don't want to slow somebody down. Or, hey, I'm not as good of a cyclist, so I don't want to go on this particular ride. We'll go, and you'll be surprised at what will happen. Just kind of jump in and meet individuals. Take advantage now that things are opening back up of the runs, if it's just you and someone else, or some of the social rides or anything like that, and form those relationships. Because I've formed a lot of great relationships with members of PTC. And it's not just, hey, a club. It's like a family now, to where we can pick up the phone, have conversations. Hey, how are the kids doing? And it seems like it's more about the family first, then triathlon, on the discussions that we're having.
Absolutely. And, I think that that's another theme there is family first. A lot of us have families, right? We're trying to balance that with the triathlon. So it's nice to, just be able to talk about that. On the last group ride we had on Zwift, one of the members was asking about his daughter and getting advice on whether or not she should be allowed to do two sports in the same semester in high school, right? And how to juggle that.
Hmm.
And the nice thing is, a lot of us we're also parents, right? So he was able to get different views on it, the pros and cons, with what his daughter should or shouldn't do with that. And it's just those types of conversations. It's not always just about, what's the best way to train for a triathlon, but conversations about life and family as well. I think that's just as important, and part of the journey as well. So, I appreciate the comments there, Reggie.
Yeah.
So I know we're running up against the time here. So let's do some rapid fire questions just
Right.
to get a little more info out of you. All right.
All right.
So, first one, what bike do you ride?
2016 Trek Speed Concept, and that's a
What
time trial.
running? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, 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 I said, and that's a time trial bike that I'm using.
All right, next one. What running shoe brands are in your rotation right now?
Oh, I was a big Hoka guy, the Rincon, but I've gone back to Saucony, the Endorphin Pro. So when I last looked, I think I had five in rotation. So that's my go to.
Wait, you have 5 shoes in your rotation right now?
Yeah, yeah, five.
All Sauconys?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. We got a fan. What swim goggles do you use?
Roca, it's the larger lens because I wear contacts. So the larger lens, and I have a smaller face work for me. I just can't wear the traditional fit.
Okay. Do you prefer pancakes or waffles?
Woo. Had waffles at Nudies the other day, so I'm going to go waffles.
Oh, good choice. Would you rather have T Rex arms or flamingo legs?
Wow. Since I'm tall, I got to say flamingo legs.
All right. Do you prefer bacon or sausage?
Again, had waffles the other day, extra bacon.
Oh, there you go, bacon. And then last question. Would you rather do an Ironman at Jurassic Park or at Jumanji?
Wow. I would probably say Jumanji.
Any reason why?
Ah, probably lots of surprises there. You never know what you're going to get. So I'm like, live on the wild side, kind of mix it up. So I think I would that would make hopefully for a shorter race.
Well, it's like just like an Ironman, lots of surprises. So Reggie, I appreciate the time. So where can we find you on social media? Where can folks follow you? Get in contact.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm big on Instagram, so you can find me at RunnerDude73 on Instagram, and then on Facebook you can find me Reggie Waller on Facebook. So definitely give me a follow. I would give you a follow back, and follow me on my journey as I continue to move forward.
Awesome. And then just a reminder, folks, Reggie is speaking at the Endurance Exchange Conference as well. So we'll post the information for that to sign up. In addition to Reggie, I took a look and there are a ton of great speakers on there as well, just ranging from training physiology, nutrition, coaching, a lot of content related to endurance multisport. So we'll post a link to that as well. Reggie, thank you so much for hopping on. You don't understand how much of a treasure you are to Philadelphia Triathlon Club and the multi-sport community in general. So thank you so much for all you do.
Thanks for having me, Kwok. I really appreciate it. And yeah, if anybody has questions, don't hesitate to reach out. More than happy to have a chat.
Awesome. Thanks again, Reggie.
Thank you.